You're listening to the Ugly Truth Podcast with George and Christina Markowski, your weekly injection of science, insights, and myth-busting. For awesome info and trending content, go to georgemarkowski.com.
Welcome back, guys.
Welcome back to
The Ugly Truth. This is where we're going to sacrifice sacred cows, metaphorically speaking.
And today's topic is going to be on the paleo diet.
That's right, which they like to eat cows anyway, so it's a good topic to have. So we're going to talk about paleo diet. I'll let you start.
Yeah, so paleo diet, it's an interesting subject, I guess. A lot of people have become recently aware of the paleo diet and what's involved with it all, I guess through marketing and through some new products that have come on the market. But I guess what we're going to find out today is where did the actual paleo diet come from and how long has it been in existence for? Because a lot of people might think, oh, it's only been a few years or whatever since it's been relevant to let people know, I guess, in the media, it's become more of a thing. But obviously the paleo diet's been around for a very long time. It's
become very popular lately. So basically, the paleo diet has a resurgence. And people started talking about the paleo diet probably back in the 1990s. That's when I discovered it. Right? But that was on certain very forums and things like that. And it was actually a group of raw food vegans that sort of started the paleo movement.
So that's very interesting that it came from raw food vegans when they're totally against, obviously, eating animals.
Yes, totally. So what happened was I originally started as a raw food vegan. And because at the time, the latest knowledge was, okay, we're meant to eat vegetables and we're supposed to eat raw food, and that was the healthiest thing. So I went to this camp, an Hippocrates camp, right? And Hippocrates is actually the father of medicine. And he's actually said, let medicine be your food. Or let food be your medicine, actually, the other way around, right? And that was the Hippocrates oath. So that's where sort of modern doctors came from, Hippocrates school of thinking. Right. Anyway, so at this camp, we ate raw food and we had to fast for several days and eat lots of raw food. And we learned how to make fermented wheat, actually, funny enough.
Wow. How's that part of the paleo diet?
It wasn't paleo, this is raw food diet. Okay. So raw food vegan. So with a raw food vegan diet, you have to eat everything raw. And look, it's very cleansing when you first start. But after a while, the raw food vegan diet, for some people, doesn't work. And I was one of those people. I kept losing weight on the raw food. I couldn't gain weight, and I was working out and running and getting all trying to fit.
Were you feeling really tired?
No, I wasn't feeling tired.
Okay.
I just wasn't getting stronger. I was getting weaker. So my bench press and all my weight, when I was doing weights, I wasn't improving in strength. So that was a sign that maybe something's wrong. So then I went looking around, and there was this Beyond Vegan, this website, and where there's vegans, people that were vegan, raw food vegan, 10, 20 years. So these people had a lot of experience. And I always believe that when you look into something, look at someone that's done it for a while and find out where they got from it.
Yeah.
And their health from long-term being raw food vegan was going downhill. So and basically eating animal products when you're raw food vegan is so taboo. You know what I mean? Crazy.
Absolutely.
So getting that emotional, logical step from eating raw food vegan to actually eating meat is very difficult mentally because you've been ingrained that meat is so bad.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I believe.
What do they teach you about meat being bad? Why do they demonise it?
Well, okay, they demonise it, and I guess it depends on the quality of meat. So I get that.
I agree.
So is meat good or bad for you? Well, if you go and buy some hormone, crappy, non-organic factory farm meat,
pumped full of antibiotics,
it is the worst for you. It is bad.
Yeah, that would be terrible. Because imagine, the living conditions that the animals had to survive in, and what they're eating as well, grains, processed grains. And the sickness and the filth that animal's been living in and the disease that it probably got, then you're eating that meat. That would be so terrible.
So meat, what it does, it concentrates vitamins and minerals and everything else.
Right.
So it's a real dense nutrient package of food. However, if you have a factory farmed animal, it's densely packed with chemicals and hormones and bad stuff. But if you have an organic one, grass-fed wild organic animal,
free range,
it's going to be packed with goodness.
Yeah.
So two at the store. So
Well, it's like natural versus unnatural, basically.
Yes, so I guess that's why demonised meat was bad for you and stuff like that.
Because back in the paleo days, we would have eaten the free range.
Well, there was no factory farming in the paleo days.
Exactly, obviously. All the animals that paleo man ate would have been free range, organic.
Well, exactly, and the thing is, you get all these websites saying, oh, paleo, eat lean meat. No, because paleo man loved eating fat, right? And the best part of the meat is the fat, because that's all the
Paleo man
vitamins.
wouldn't really have had a choice in the matter because he would have been starving, so he would have eaten the whole animal.
Well, if you look at lions and you look at lots of apex predators, the head of the group normally is the soft organ meats. And that's what paleo man would have prized because they prize it.
Is that where the most
All
nutrients is?
Absolutely, totally. So the paleo diet, even though it's only come out in the last few years, and the thing is, the real original paleo diet, it ended 10,000 years ago, right? So it's been around for millions of years, and we've evolved to eat the paleo diet because evolution happens very, very slow. And so even though we have evolved over the last 10,000 years, definitely, there's not a lot of evolution that's happened. So what paleontologists did, and I talked about the history about this, is they actually looked at skeletons, and this is the first research that really convinced me. And what happened was the skeletons between paleo man and then agricultural man, whatever they label that, right, modern man, were different because after 10,000 years, our skeletons got smaller. We weren't as tall, we weren't as strong, and they found signs of disease. So
lack of nutrition.
Yes, so basically, and see, once we started agriculture, wheat was one of the first things we domesticated, right? And domestication, they summarised that it started in the Fertile Crescent, which is modern-day Iraq, Iran. It was called Mesopotamia before that, and that's where they think the Fertile Crescent was, and that's where domestication started. So what happened was with domestication of food and livestock and grains, then people started settling in one place. So there was a big advantage with food security, but there was a disadvantage because when you got people living close together, you're going to have more disease anyway. But also, see, you look at grains. Grains are really seeds of plants, and plants have evolved to create these grains so they don't get digested by people or animals. Otherwise, they die out. So what happens is we're really like the bees of the grain world. So what happens is when we digest some grains, they go into your stomach, you digest some, but some of them come out with its own fertilizer and it grows a new one.
Wow.
Right? So there's a lot of anti-nutrients in grains. So because of that, grains can be very harsh to the stomach. Also, it's very hard to get the vitamins out of them. They can create a lot of deficiencies in vitamins. So that's why people's health started declining 10,000 years ago.
So why did we start growing it then?
Because
we didn't know it was bad?
Well, how would paleo man know it was bad? But also, if you look at human history, we've always had a calorie deficit. We've never had enough food, ever, right? Up until
recently.
Probably 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Or even 50 years ago, there wasn't enough food. There was never enough food. And now it's the first time in the world that's happened. So you think about, if you don't have enough food, any food is good. But also, if you're restricting calories, you can get away with eating food that's not good. More than in the modern world where we've got processed food, we've got a surplus of food, and our biggest problem now is not having enough food. We've got the opposite problem, having too much food.
Absolutely.
So it's amazing because we're driven from evolution to be hungry and want to eat things, right? And now that's going against us.
I guess that's why we've got an obesity epidemic.
We have, and it's huge. I mean, you think about it, Australia's the fattest kids in the world.
That's shocking.
Right?
More than America.
I know. And
we beat America.
Right?
At least we beat them at something.
So the thing is, when you eat food with not many nutrients, you're going to keep wanting more and more. It's not going to satisfy you. It doesn't matter how much you eat.
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
So that's funny. So when I was at school, I was one of the skinny kids, and it used to be the opposite way around when you were at school. When I was at school, kids were all normal size, not skinny, like normal size, and they would bully the fat kids. But all the kids at my school were actually weighed more than average. I wouldn't say they were fat, but they were definitely chubby and on the heavier side. And they actually bullied me for being skinnier, and there was one or two other skinny kids that got bullied for being skinny. So it's really strange how the whole thing's changed.
It's changed
with
a lot.
Kids today.
But also because
and
of
the way they look, it's like...
Because they're getting bigger, people are hitting puberty quicker.
Yeah, I was going to say there's so many hormones and everything like that.
You look at that, it's very different. Like when we were at school, everyone was flat. Right?
Yeah.
But it's different now. Like people, girls are maturing quicker. It's
absolutely. That's
scary.
so scary, I know.
Totally. Because
all the hormones,
exactly,
and all the food and sugar and.
Well, I saw one documentary in America where all these guys were had breasts because they're eating too much chicken.
Wow.
It's full on,
that's
horrible
shocking.
stuff. So I guess that's what with the paleo. So the paleo diet is all about eating what our hunter-gatherers ate, and when you think about it, if we evolved to eat it, it's pretty good. So our hunter-gatherers, what do they eat? They ate meat, they ate roots. They ate some vegetables.
Yeah,
right?
They ate what they could find,
They ate what they could find. And because meat was so...
It was whole food,
calorie dense. It was all whole food. And recently, I guess this whole...
Nothing processed.
That's right. Nothing processed at all. And that's the thing. Processed food is the problem. If you look at an average supermarket, this is the amazing thing. Because what happens is corn is subsidized. Heaps.
Yeah, a bit like sugar.
Because corn, you can actually produce a lot of corn per acre. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those crops that creates a lot of... It's actually better than wheat.
Right.
Dollar for dollar.
Okay.
It's also subsidised. And because it's subsidised, it's really cheap. So they use it in everything.
Yeah, they use it as a cheap filler.
So 70% of everything in the supermarket is corn.
Amazing.
They should call it a corn market. Right? I'm serious. You look at a chicken nugget, right? A chicken nugget is 70% corn.
That's amazing, yeah.
You look at Coke, when you buy it at McDonald's, that's all corn.
A Coke, like a glass of Coke?
Yes, that's corn. Corn.
Is that the sweetness?
Yes.
That you get in it?
Yes, so because it's the cheapest way to do it. So everything's corn, and corn is really bad for diabetes.
Because it's full of sugar.
Full of fructose, right? And what it does, it raises your insulin levels. It's really bad. But if you have processed food, what you're doing is just having all this corn, and corn is actually hard to digest.
Yes,
it's not easy.
Very hard to
I don't know if you've ever eaten corn. You could probably realise it's hard to digest. Don't want TMI here. Yes, so I swung onto the paleo diet and started getting into that, and I found my strength got a lot better. I got a lot stronger, and I found that eating meat and eating paleo made me twice as strong when I was a vegetarian. I got bigger, stronger, fitter, everything. I looked better. People couldn't believe the difference.
Amazing. So your bowel must have been absorbing the nutrients then.
Totally. I mean, personally, I think you need meat and fat to build a body. You need a certain amount of protein.
Yeah, definitely.
And I started off with the Pritikin diet a long time ago. And that was this guy used to write, Nathan Pritikin, it was the anti-heart attack diet. It was very popular in the 70s. I started that back in the late 80s. And he was talking about eating low fat, because low fat was really big.
I bet that was low fat diet.
Low fat was really
big.
Back
in the 80s, that was very popular.
And I was amazed by this book, because they wrote all this stuff in this book, and you're like, wow, he wrote, look, you don't need meat to get muscly. Look at a bull. They're full of muscle. You know what I mean? And I'd go, yeah, look at this. And people would say, why have you given up meat? And I go, what about a bull? They're huge and they eat grass. Yes, but they've got 4 stomachs. We don't, right? So
very different.
Took me a while. And look, there's some vegetarian bodybuilders and vegan bodybuilders, and they're pretty big.
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, different diets for different people. But for me, I found the vegan thing just didn't work. And I found that, I guess ethically, being vegan, I don't think is good either. That's the funny thing.
Okay. Interesting.
So, because if you look at most vegetarians, they eat from a monoculture. What a monoculture is you look at soybeans, corn, wheat, and everything like that, rice. It's a monoculture. So what they have to do is they clear large tracts of land, destroy the ecosystem in that area, and create one crop, right? Which lose the biodiversity, which is not good for that area. Because you think about how many insects, animals, little reptiles and mice and other different animals and birds eat off this whole ecosystem, right?
I suppose it depends what country you're in as well and where they're doing it.
No, monoculture does that everywhere. because a monoculture, I don't know if you understand how that works. They clear, make it all flat and have big tractors going through doing all the farming.
Where are they doing it?
Farms.
If they're doing it like
in Australia,
there's nothing in the middle of Australia anyway.
Where there's nothing, you can't have. You need good sand. So you need good soil to create monoculture. So therefore, you've got to clear land that could have been used for the environment. So if you
they're doing it in like forest areas, basically.
Not forest areas, but area that's fertile, right? Because if it's infertile and it's a desert, you can't put a farm on there.
Yeah,
that's the problem. That's the challenge.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So if you look at monoculture does a lot more damage than if you look at a biodynamic farm where they've got animals and they've got plants. They sort of work symbiotically and work better. And it's much better for the environment. You have more animals living off that because the ecosystem's bigger and more fulfilled. And I think that's more ethical, eating that sort of food, than monoculture where it decimates the whole land.
What about the whole argument with obviously vegans saying that being vegan is saving the planet?
Look, there's arguments about vegans saving the planet, but depends what sort of vegan you are.
Yeah.
So being vegan, is it healthy, is it not healthy? I mean, if you're a vegan and you're eating vegan food...
Well, what if you're eating your own veggies that you're growing in your garden?
You're going to have a big garden to fill a vegan up.
Then you're obviously not destroying the land and the world.
No.
Because you're...
No. Look, there's nothing wrong with that. That's good. But it's without the animal, though, how are you going to fertilise it?
I don't know.
So you need... Okay, so when you look at it, so if you got land...
Well, you can have an alive animal and just use its poo, I guess.
Yes.
You don't have to kill it.
No, but when it reproduces, it's going to overrun the place. There's got to be that natural cycle. So, but you need animals.
Breeding all those animals into existence, though, for eating them purposes. So they wouldn't exist if we weren't breeding them into existence. Do you know what I mean?
No, I mean, you look at the chicken, right? The chicken is one of the most successful animals in the world.
Yeah, because humans breed it.
Yes, because the chickens there wouldn't be many chickens around if we didn't breed them, right? But because we do, they're everywhere around the whole planet. There's more chickens than humans in the world, you know what I mean?
Oh, same with dogs and cats.
Yes, so humans have actually ended up with a symbiotic relationship with these animals. They really have. Now, I'm totally against this factory farming of chickens, putting them in cages. It's terrible, it's horrible. It's not good for the chicken, not good for us.
Yeah, I know.
But free-range biodynamic chickens is a very different thing. And I think that's the ethical way of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because whether they're in a biodynamic area or in the wild, they're going to die anyway. That's the fact of it. That's part of life. And plants eat animals.
What plants eat animals?
Okay, so what happens is when the animals produce manure, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And
so
the plants...
if like an animal died next to a plant,
that's right.
So its body as compost.
So what happens? It's a circle. That's the way it is. That's what ecosystems are about, and you need every part of the circle there. Very important.
Yeah.
So, and we're just part of that circle, and if we can be part of that circle in the right way, it's good.
Yeah, I think you should be ethical. To the best of your ability, obviously. We've all got to live in houses. I mean,
yes,
you can't go overboard.
Yes,
and
totally.
I know this is what I do. I eat organic and free-range animals because I don't like supporting factory farms because I think that's just an unnecessary evil in the world.
I totally agree.
So I think, obviously we are breeding these animals into existence for our consumption, but I think we should have a certain standard when it comes to this, and we should try and be more ethical. And I only use makeup that hasn't been tested on animals, well, to my knowledge. I mean, there's probably something old that I own that I haven't looked into, but yeah, I try to the best of my ability to always be conscious about, what I'm using, where's it come from, what has actually gone through, what process has it gone through to come into existence. And I try and be mindful of that and be aware, because I think that's really important.
I totally agree. I think it's good to start small and work your way up. And I think that if everyone voted with their conscience and spent their money in the right ethical way.
Yeah, put your dollar towards
that's
something
very important,
good.
because if you don't support anything that's bad against animals, right? For example, factory farming. If no one bought factory farm food, the factories go broke.
Same with makeup being tested on animals and cruelty towards animals.
If people stop buying that
If people stop buying it, supply and demand.
Yes. So as consumers, we've got a lot of power, but we don't really use it. And I'd like us to use it more. It'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that comes down to people being aware.
And educated about it.
Yeah.
And look, at the end of the day, I understand there's budget restraints as well. A lot of people can't afford to be completely ethical, but it's a matter of slowly inching your way towards that, because the more of us that do it, the more affordable it becomes.
Do what you can and then go from there, you know. Rome wasn't built in a day.
We don't need to judge anyone.
Just do the best you can and try and improve it. As long as you're going towards the right direction and trying to improve, you know, every day or however often, then you're doing at least better than you would have been doing yesterday.
That's right. I think very, very important to do that. You know, so the paleo diet. Let's go back to that.
So that was in existence 2 million years ago?
It's been in existence for about 2 million years, yes.
Right.
Yes, and what scientists are saying, we don't know if this is completely true, but it's pretty close. They reckon that us eating meat helped us build a bigger brain.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yes.
I've heard that we wouldn't have actually have fully evolved if it wasn't for eating meat.
Well, the thing is, your brain takes a lot of energy. So eating vegetables takes a lot of energy. Eating meat takes a lot less energy. So what happens is, if you look at animals that eat a lot of vegetables, they've got quite big stomachs.
And they sleep all day usually.
A lot of their energy is used digesting all that food. Now, you look at meat eaters, they're a lot more slimline. Right? Now, our brain takes a disproportionate amount of energy. 20% of our energy intake is our brain. So it's very expensive, you know, evolutionary-wise.
Yeah.
Because of that, meat would make it a lot easier, because we could be smarter with our brain and hunt animals and have more calories. It'd be a good payoff. Because you think about the human brain, it's created a lot of challenges. Evolutionary wise. So, for example,
giving birth, I guess, would be the biggest one, because our heads are so big
that we're born premature.
Yeah.
So kids are born premature, and it takes them 2 years to become fully functional. So you look at a giraffe. A giraffe will spit out a little baby giraffe in no time. And part of the reason humans have problems with the head is, one, our head gets too big, but also because we're stand upright and our hips are a lot tighter. So if you're on all fours, you've got wider hips.
Yeah, okay.
So that makes a difference. So a giraffe jumps out, it's born, 1 minute later it's running.
It's walking, yeah.
Right? However, humans, we need 2 years at least of nurturing and years of education and to help us get to that level. So we're really premature. And I guess we're premature apes, really, when you think about it.
Interesting.
Yes. However, the huge advantage is the brain, which is very important. It was so important that it was worth having these childbirth challenges and having to get protected for years and years, because it gave us an advantage in the future. Yeah. Because we're very social creatures, and they say one of the reasons we've got such a big brain is to keep up that whole social hierarchy. Because hunter-gatherers and Paleo men are usually in groups of 100 to 150 people. So you need to know every single person completely, and you need to know who you can trust, who you can't trust, and keep tabs in your head. So it's quite complicated. And it was very important, because it was important for your survival. And also you needed to form alliances, and what was very important for humans was creating those social bonds and creating alliances and things like that. That's what was such a social animal. You know, you think about it, you get a pet cat, and what does it do? It just pisses off. It's not a social animal, does it?
Yeah.
They're very solitary animals. But dogs are pack animals, and they're very similar to humans. So you look at a dog, it's part of your family.
Well, dogs co-evolved with humans for a number of years.
They have, for thousands of years. So the Egyptians had cats. Cats were very big in Egypt, very popular. You know, I like those cats, the ones that are sort of like half a leopard, half a cat.
Seville cats?
Yeah, beautiful cats.
They're nice,
like
aren't they?
If I ever got a cat, that's what I'd get. You know, they jump like 14 feet or something.
Wow,
yeah,
impressive.
You wouldn't be able to keep it under control, would you? But cats are like, they do what they like. At least they look after themselves, you know.
True, yeah.
Dogs are friendlier. You know, you leave.
You got your pros and cons.
You leave for 1 minute, you come back and a dog feels like it's missed you, and right, it's like you haven't been. A cat, you could be gone for a week,
And it wouldn't know.
It wouldn't care. That's right. So yes, the co-evolution of dogs is interesting.
You've been on the paleo diet for how many years?
I started the paleo diet back in the 90s, so on and off. You know, I haven't been that strict, but I've been on the paleo diet for years and years and years, for a long time. I was one of the first people on the paleo diet.
Right.
Yes.
Interesting.
I used to call it the Paleolithic diet. It didn't have a paleo diet name.
Shorten
then.
it, yes. Yeah.
And I really like the paleo diet, but I've moved off that now.
What have you moved on to?
Okay, so I'm going now paleo/traditional diet, because you look at our ancestral diet, you look at what our ancestors used to eat for generation after generation and their processes, and there was a lot of wisdom there. And I think what's happened is we've lost a lot of the wisdom now with processed foods, because what's happened is back in the old days, I suppose, people used to try to get the most out of their food. You know, they'd have a big cooker thing on top of a fire.
Big cauldron.
Or a big pot or something on top of a fire that'd be cooking 24/7, because that would keep them warm, and they'd be cooking. And they'd put in every bit of an animal in there. So the bones would be cooking for days and days and days, and they'd be taking all the nutrients out. And I'm really into, I guess, stock and bone broth and things like that. A lot of paleo people eat the bone broth, but it's not paleo. You know what I mean? Because Paleo Man didn't have a big pot.
So wasn't there some evidence that back when we were evolving, we went into like a bottleneck, and then the only way we could survive was by breaking bones open and eating the marrow?
I don't know about that. I think that, no.
We almost went extinct.
Almost went extinct, but they don't know how we got out of it.
And there was like a big famine in the world.
We don't know what actually happened at all.
So these are just theories.
Look, basically the theory says that a long time ago it's called the mitochondrial Eve, because through a mitochondria we can actually trace back our genes on our maternal side, not our paternal side.
Right.
And what they did is they went back and they discovered that all humans are the result of 8 women that came out of Africa, and they are maternal Eves. Right?
Interesting.
And that was the bottleneck there that happened. But that was the people.
That's what I'm referring to.
That was the people leaving Africa, not the Africans. So there's a lot more variety in Africa than the rest of the world.
Yeah, of course there is.
Right? Because that's where we originally came from. That's the fact of it. You know, a lot of people have got these other theories, but really when you think about it, there's a lot more diversity in Africa, genetic diversity, heaps more, and only one branch left Africa. And that's all of us.
So that's basically the evidence that we've got to say that, yes, we did come from Africa.
I believe that evidence is pretty strong. When you look at, there's more diversity in Africa than there is the rest of the world. Obviously, we must have come from there. That's where diversity comes from. So we've only got one branch that spread out the whole world everywhere else.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And there was a bottleneck, but we don't know what caused it. Right? We don't know at all. However,
we don't know how we survived it.
No. I mean, it'd be great to find out, but we don't know. Because the fact of it is, Paleo Man ate anything they could. They scavenged, they hunted, they did everything. Yeah. So you think about it, bones, they loved eating bones. They'd crack them open and eat it. I mean, even eagles do that. They get a bone, fly it real high and drop it on rocks.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Which is amazing to get the marrow out, because the marrow is a powerhouse of nutrition. And I guess that's why I love stock, because you put the bones in there and you
leach all the minerals out.
Yeah, they get all the minerals out. And Paleo Man wouldn't be able to get all the minerals out because he couldn't cook it.
He didn't have any cookware at the time.
So basically our ancestors, what they did is they did a lot of fermentation. And I think there's a lot of wisdom there, because our ancestors realised that certain things were hard to digest. So they fermented it to make it easier. You look, for example, cabbage, right? Cabbage is very fibrous and very tough. But a sauerkraut, it's already pre-digested.
Right.
And you look at the Japanese, they invented tempeh, right? And tempeh is fermented soybeans and natto. And that's really amazing stuff.
Do you know how they got onto the whole concept of fermentation?
I reckon it would have happened by accident.
Yeah.
So what happened was, for example, kefir. right, which is fermented milk, and the Mongolians used to use it. So what they used to do is they used to get horse milk and put it in a gourd.
That sounds strong.
They put it in this sort of
Wasn't it like a bladder?
like a sheep bladder, right?
Yeah.
They put it in a sheep bladder, and what would happen is they'd be riding along, they'd be mixing around, right, in the heat.
Oh, so it just turned into
And what happened is
like yogurt.
it turned into kefir, right? And they discovered that if you put a bit of this in something else and mix it around, you could preserve the milk; it wouldn't go off. So a lot of fermentation, like yogurt and kefir and things like that, happened by accident, and it was a great way to preserve milk. I remember when I was 10 years old, I was on a trip. My parents come from Macedonia. We were back there, and my uncle had all these sheep, and we were milking the sheep, and they were making yogurt and things like that out of it. And it was fascinating how they had the raw milk and just straight into yogurt. No pasteurization or anything like that, because pasteurization, that's what kills milk. It's really bad. So raw milk is quite healthy. Now, Paleo man wouldn't have had raw milk.
What do they do when they do pasteurization? Is it heating it up?
Yeah, so what happened was back in England, when milk became quite a big staple, they used to milk all these different cows and mix it all up in these things and give it to people.
That sounds so gross.
Now, when you get a carton of milk, that's not one cow.
Yeah, I know.
It's a mixture of plenty of cows. And the problem with that is, if you have one or two sick cows, you've wrecked all that milk.
It's contaminated, yeah.
Exactly, and people were getting sick. So
I bet they were.
Pasteurization was named after Louis Pasteur, French guy, and he discovered the germ theory.
Right.
And what he discovered is you heat up milk really hot, what would happen is you'd kill all the bacteria and it'd be safe. So what they do now is they get milk and heat it up really high.
But if you're just taking the milk from the one animal and you're not mixing it, that's okay, isn't it?
Raw milk is illegal.
No, but I'm saying
I think it's great. No.
Yeah.
If you got a healthy organic cow, raw milk that's fresh is the best you can get.
And you know it's just from the one.
It's got all the enzymes in it as well, and you haven't killed all the nutrients in it and everything else like that. It's great. So you can buy raw milk, but it's called bath milk.
But wouldn't that almost be like, I know this is a bit off topic, but like say you've got chicken eggs, and they're obviously not from all the one chicken.
Well, they're all, but each egg's from one chicken.
But if you're cracking them open and mixing them with other eggs, wouldn't that be unsafe?
Okay, so
have more chance of disease.
Well, if you have raw eggs that are conventional, a lot of them can have salmonella. Right? Okay. That's why people cook eggs, don't eat them raw. Now, I eat a lot of raw eggs, but I get biodynamic organic eggs.
Right.
Because the chance of getting sick from one of those is very rare. And I've never got sick from
Wouldn't you be safer eating the eggs that have just come from the one chicken though, rather than all different chickens?
As long as they're healthy organic chicken, it's fine.
Okay.
Yep. Just like our quail eggs. Right?
Yeah.
You know, they're fine. They're organic little quails. So pasteurization has really destroyed milk, and that's why dairy is so bad for you. But if you look at our ancestors, what they did with dairy is they made it better by creating it into yogurt and cheese and things like that.
Because that removes the lactose as well, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Makes it lactose free.
That's right.
Because a lot of people are highly allergic to milk these days with ice cream and everything.
Totally. Now, see, yogurt is really healthy.
Right,
but commercially made yogurt is not made the way you make yogurt because they don't ferment it for long enough. But what happens is you need to really ferment yogurt for 24 hours. So that's why we make our own yogurt for 24 hours, and you can taste how tarty it is.
Yeah,
it's really tarty.
You can taste the difference.
Yes, you can tell the difference. It's got that real tarty taste. It's beautiful though. I love it.
It's nice, yeah.
Because it's good. But I've been getting into fermenting a lot of stuff now. It's great. All traditional stuff. I love fermentation, and I think traditional making stocks and fermented foods and everything else, I think it's a really good cornerstone. So I think you got paleo diet and you add traditional foods and put those together, and then it's a lot easier to digest.
Yeah, okay.
You know, so because there's one guy in America, and what he does, he eats raw meat.
Ugh.
Right? And
why?
Well, what happened was apparently he was really sick, and he went out to the desert and decided that he wanted to kill himself, and he found this animal that was dead and ate it, and ate its liver. And it was rotten, and apparently it fixed him, it helped him, and he decided from then on only raw meat.
Oh, that is just...
So he eats raw chicken, raw beef, raw liver, butter and raw honey. That's all he eats.
Wow.
Right?
An exciting life.
Look, I tried the raw meat thing myself.
Raw meat?
Yes.
You tried raw meat?
Yes, I tried the raw meat diet.
What did you eat?
I ate raw meat and I ate butter and honey.
So you ate raw chicken? Weren't you scared of getting sick?
I got organic, fresh chicken.
And you were fine?
Totally fine, yeah.
What did it do to your digestive? Did you have to go through a phase where you were a bit sick and then you felt better?
No, I was totally fine. I don't really like taste, so what I love beef, raw beef. Raw beef's beautiful.
Yeah, like carpaccio. That's fine.
So you've tried raw beef. We've tried it many times. So
yeah,
if you get,
but you've got a bit of olive oil on it,
Yes, well, you can do that with chicken as well.
Pepper, I suppose.
Look, think about raw fish. You've eaten raw fish.
Yeah,
Sashimi.
Yeah,
So,
but raw chicken, I don't get the whole concept of that. I suppose it's no different. Yeah,
it's just a mental thing.
It's just a mental thing. Yeah,
it's just a mental thing. So you can eat raw meat.
What's acceptable and what's not in your head.
The thing is, though, if you're going to eat raw meat, it has to be really high quality.
Yeah, of course.
And really fresh. You can't buy chicken from the store and eat that. No way. You can't even cut a knife with it and cut your vegetables, apparently, because you can get salmonella and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but having food that's fresh and organic and really high quality is so important. Yeah. So I tried the raw meat diet, and it got pretty old pretty quick.
Oh, how long were you on the raw meat diet?
Not that long.
Like a week.
Yeah, a week. And
at least you tried it.
my girlfriend at the time wasn't happy because she joined the diet as well, and we were like, so we'd mince up meat and just have a bit of minced meat and stuff like that.
So who got you onto this raw meat diet?
I actually bought the guy's book, so I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
But this guy from America, he wrote a book about it, got all these recipes with raw meat and things like that.
And what got you onto the paleo diet?
Being vegan and studying. And
discovering beyond veganism.
So what happened was when I discovered beyond veganism, then I discovered...
Is that like a blog forum?
Yes. I'm going to put it in the show notes because these guys are cool because they really helped me move on to my next level.
Right.
So after the raw vegan diet, that's when I discovered the raw meat.
So you went from... Raw vegan to raw meat.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Look.
What a contrast.
The way I see it, I do whatever it takes to be healthy. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I've tried a lot of different diets, and each time I thought, wow, this is it.
So you went from being a raw food vegan to a raw meat person?
No. Went from raw food vegan to raw food fruitarian.
Okay.
Right?
Let's talk
Now,
about
fruitarian,
that.
okay. There was this whole idea. And you know what the next level is after this?
What?
Even crazier. A breatharian. Right? I don't know if you heard of that.
Where you photosynthesize and you just feed off the light.
So I was researching a lot and I bought a lot of books, and then from raw food vegan I heard about the fruitarian diet because before we became Paleo man, guess what we ate?
Fruit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you think about humans, and this is part of the thing that convinced me at the time. Humans can't produce vitamin C.
Okay.
We lost the ability, and the reason we lost the ability is because we used to eat so much fruit and so much vitamin C, it wasn't useful for us.
Wow.
So just about every animal in the world can produce vitamin C, but we don't.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And that was a big problem back in the days of ships because people, the scurvy dogs, they got scurvy, right?
Yeah.
And people didn't know what caused scurvy. So they tried everything. And then what happened was they tried limes.
Yeah.
And it worked. But then people forgot about it. And it took 100 years again for them to work it out.
Oh my God.
Right?
Fruit, yeah.
Yeah, so finally they worked it out because back in those days, they used to actually bring cows and goats and everything on the ship, right? And kill them as they went along to have them fresh because they didn't have fridges, right? Because you had two choices. You could salt all your meat or bring it fresh. There's the only two ways you can do it. Funny enough, in history, salt was a fascinating thing because you could tell if another country was buying too much salt if they're getting ready for war.
Yeah.
Right? Because without salt, he couldn't go to war.
Interesting.
And then Napoleon, one of his men, discovered canning, but they did it in champagne bottles.
Right.
So what they did is they put food in a champagne bottle, heated it up, and put a lid on it. And then they'd smash the bottle and eat out of it. That's the original can. And it helped Napoleon quite a bit because they didn't have to salt their meat.
Interesting.
Right? And then during World War II, they discovered MSG to make canned food taste better.
So you went from the fruitarian diet to the raw meat diet.
Yes, that's right. And fruitarian diet, that was pretty full on. It was just fruit.
Yeah, as I can imagine.
There's a few people that joined me, which is pretty cool. Don't know why, right?
And then you went from the raw meat diet to the paleo?
That's right.
Okay, there we go.
Yes. So I went from raw meat, then I went to paleo and had a little bit of cooked meat and moved to paleo.
Interesting.
Because the thing is, I was doing the research on Paleo Man and when he started fire, and it's hard to tell, but they reckon it was about 1 million years ago to 500,000 years ago. Mm-hmm. So we've been eating cooked meat for about 1 million years to 500,000 years. So there's a big debate about whether raw meat is better or cooked meat is better.
Yeah.
Right? So now, if you look at traditional food and how they cook it in stock.
Yeah, in the water.
Yes, that's very different to char grilled, because when you char grill meat, that black stuff,
Carcinogens.
That's right. When you I mean, there's nothing better than a beautiful Wagyu steak, all that fat and all the marbling and getting cooked. You know, however, that caramelization, that beautiful flavour, can be carcinogenic and not good for you. So it's one of those things. So yes, I went to paleo diet from there.
And you've been on the paleo diet for 9 years?
I went the paleo diet for a while, and then I moved to the SCD diet.
Oh, okay. So now you're on SCD diet.
No, now GAPS.
Now you're on GAPS, yeah.
Yes. And the SCD diet is the specific carbohydrate diet, right? So back in 2000, I got diagnosed with Crohn's. And that's part of, I guess, my journey of health, because I wanted to cure my health challenges through food.
Because
and
paleo
lifestyle.
and GAPS cures autoimmune.
That's right, yes. So what we're finding is people these days, a lot more autoimmune happening all over the world. Especially in the Western world.
Because there's
heaps.
more processed food than ever.
Yes, it's crazy. It's full on. And the thing is, I guess, maybe because we're living busy lives, we're eating the wrong food, we're under stress, there's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
So going back to nature and trying to have traditional foods, I think is a very important step forward.
It's a great idea, yeah.
It's a great idea. I think it's good. It's more ethical, for one. And
absolutely.
I think anything that's better for the environment and for the world is going to be better for you as well. It's a symbiotic relationship.
So paleo diet basically reduces inflammation.
Yes. It's an anti-inflammatory diet.
Anti-cancer as well.
That's right. Well, talking about anti-cancer, the ketogenic diet, which is I've tried as well, which is fascinating.
So that's high fat.
The ketogenic diet is really high fat, right? When you cut out carbs. And I quite enjoy the ketogenic diet. It's really good.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it's great.
So I sort of mix between the paleo, ketogenic and GAPS diet.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Because I think...
paleo based, but recently I've got onto GAPS with the fermentation and everything like that.
Yeah, I think fermentation is important. And I think fasting is important too. So
totally.
The worst meal of the day is breakfast.
Yep, I agree.
Right? Now, the thing is, people will be saying, what the hell, right? But, okay, so we look back at Paleo Man, right?
He wouldn't have eaten a breakfast.
No, I mean, for the last 2 million years, Paleo Man got up, he didn't have a fridge, so he couldn't open his fridge and get leftover pizza or anything. He had to get out there and hunt or gather and do things. So we didn't evolve to have breakfast.
We would have probably eaten a few meals a week if we were lucky, right?
No, probably a few little meals and one big meal. You know what I mean? Depends.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there wouldn't have been a lot of calories.
No.
Like, say we killed an animal, that would last for a couple of days.
If that.
We'd probably eat it non-stop because we'd be starving.
You look at the size of the tribe, it'd probably be gone straight away.
Yeah,
one meal. And what would happen is, the higher your hierarchy, the more meat you got.
Yeah.
And what would happen is you'd gorge yourself. You wouldn't just eat a little bit, you'd eat as much as you can.
You'd be starving.
That's right. So it was feast and famine, feast and famine.
So it was intermittent fasting, basically.
That's right. And they found intermittent fasting is really healthy for all your blood markers.
So what does it actually do? Does it turn on certain cells? Or?
Okay, so intermittent fasting, what it does turn on certain longevity genes.
Right.
Also, what it does, it gives you more sensitivity to insulin, which is one of the biggest challenges at the moment.
Right.
So what's happening, because of processed food, people are less sensitive to insulin.
Yeah,
And
so that's why diabetes is...
So what's happening is you're producing all this insulin out there,
So
and your cells are
problem.
numb to it, and you just produce more. And insulin damages your blood cells really badly and your cardiovascular system. So what it does, it creates a lot of inflammation, right? And it's really bad. And a lot of people are diabetic or pre-diabetic, they don't even know about it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like your blood
Lots of
sugar
people.
should be between 3.6 to 4.8. And it shouldn't go more than 2.2 above your baseline after an hour after you eat.
Right.
Because spikes in insulin are very, very dangerous and probably one of the most dangerous things. And what spikes insulin? Carbohydrates, stress, and sugar. So there's the three things that we have a lot of now that Paleo Man didn't.
Yeah.
Right? So a little bit of stress is good for you. Very good for you. That's why working out is good, because you stress your body.
Yeah.
Right? And having challenges stresses you. So having a little bit of stress every now and again is very, very good for you. A lack of stress is bad. However, chronic stress, where you're stressed every day, especially if you've got a shit job and you've got to go there at 9 o'clock in the morning and work all day, or if you're in a bad relationship or whatever, but constant stress is very bad for you and creates a lot of challenges. So one of the things that ages us more than anything is insulin and inflammation.
So I guess that's where intermittent fasting comes in.
Intermittent fasting really reduces that, and a lot of successful people don't eat breakfast or lunch.
Yeah, I know.
Which is interesting, and I mean, I've given up most breakfast and lunch. So, but you know what? It's a matter of you don't want to do it every day.
No.
The thing is, I'm sure Paleo Man
Got to
had
listen
days.
to your body.
I'm sure Paleo Man had days where it had breakfast.
Yeah, totally.
They killed a
yeah.
mammoth. They're probably eating every day for a while. So I like to mix it up. And every now and again, I mean, when we have breakfast, maybe once or twice a week,
Yeah.
right?
About
Had a
that.
couple of lunches, and then every dinner I like to eat. Because I like to eat dinner, because after dinner I can relax.
Yeah, I don't want to go to bed hungry. That's
No.
my pet peeve. But when I wake up, I don't really feel like stuffing my face with food, and I don't feel like having breakfast. I
No.
just naturally, and I feel full when I wake up.
Well, see, I used to force myself to have breakfast. Mum would say, look, you have to
Yeah,
have
I did
breakfast.
too.
It's the most
Because
important
everyone's
meal.
like, oh, it's the most important meal of the day.
you know
And you're
what?
like, oh, I
What a
feel
load of crap.
guilty
I
for
mean,
missing
who made
breakfast.
that up? Kellogg's or someone like that?
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting.
just propaganda to sell.
It's interesting that
processed
this whole cereal for breakfast thing happened and everyone thought it was really important. Now, if you go work a really heavy job physically, you need breakfast.
Right, yeah, you
But
need that fuel.
If you go,
yeah.
if you work in an office or do what we do, you don't need breakfast. No way. So I find I like giving up.
Because I feel like sleeping after I eat anyway. So if I ate breakfast, I would just like be so tired and lethargic because your body has to work to digest that food. And that takes a toll on my mental focus as well.
Totally. I mean, remember when I first introduced
So-
intermittent fasting to you? You're like, oh my God, I'm going to
Yeah,
die
I
if
thought
I
it
don't
was
eat.
crazy because
But-
I naturally have quite low blood sugar and I used to suffer from fainting a lot. But that was, I guess, when I was eating gluten-free food that had a lot of sugar in it. So my bloods were all over the place and, you know, my insulin was used to a certain level. And if I didn't get that level right, then I felt faint. But I had to slowly lower it and get it down to a
But
really
your blood
level.
Your blood sugars now are very
And
stable.
now I can do
They're
intermittent
very stable.
fasting. I go in ketosis all the time and I'm completely fine. And I don't feel faint at all if I miss a couple of meals.
Getting into ketosis first is difficult.
But I guess you got to do it safely and you got to listen to your body. So if
Oh, look,
I had gone overboard with the fasting when I first started, I would have been fainting all the time.
Totally. So I think you definitely need to
Just
do
got to
safely.
like slowly introduce yourself to it if you want to get started with fasting and get, I guess, into the habit
I
of it.
suggest what you need really is what we've done is I've got a blood glucose meter and also a ketone meter.
Then you can measure it
Because
and do it properly.
See, what happens is, like, for example, with ketones, right? Urine strips are a waste of time because they're not really accurate and it changes from time to time. So you really need a blood ketones. And that's very important to monitor because with your blood sugar, you want to be between the 3.6, 3.7 to about 4.8. And the ketones, you want to be from 0.5 to about 3. Any more than 3 is too full on, and anything less than 0.5, you're not in ketosis. And what I find is if I want to sort of kickstart it, as we've done before, we'd do a dry fast.
Or have some MCT
Yeah,
oil.
well, if you get exogenous ketones, right? Exogenous means external, so you can MCT oil and there's other powders and stuff like
That will push your body into ketosis.
That sort of helps. I find that the best way for me to kick off my ketosis is having a 2-day dry fast.
That's another topic. And we recently did the 2-day dry fast, so no water and no food. And
people saying, oh no, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, fasting puts stress in your body. That's the fact of it, right? So I think if you're going to fast, you need to get medical supervision.
Absolutely. Do it safely.
And don't do it for too long. However, we did the 2-day dry fast, and I must say it was very difficult.
It was challenging.
And
it was tough. By
the second day, my brain was not working right because it was just very difficult.
I was like craving water.
What I found is because the extra stress of not having the water, it kicks you into ketosis really strongly.
Yeah.
And kept us there for weeks on end.
Weeks and weeks. No matter what we ate,
So when you do a water fast, it doesn't kick the ketosis in as strong for some reason. I don't know why. That's what I've discovered.
Like you fast and you have water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like to do a dry fast probably once a month, right? And then do intermittent fasting during the month. And the good part about fasting as well is autophagy. I can say the word.
Autophagy. I call it autophagy.
It's not autophagy, it's autophagy.
That's what I call it.
Anyway, so what's autophagy? What happens is you got cells that are sort of getting old and decrepit in your body. And when you fast, and especially if you fast and don't have any protein for a while, and that's part of the reason I fast for, is to have no protein at all. So you can have a bit of fat, but no protein. So in a dry fast, for example, I'll have some exotic ketones as well to keep me going, right? In maybe a cup of tea or something. That way you sort of, that keeps you going. The thing is, once you fast, your body starts finding all your old cells and recycles them.
No,
it actually uses them up.
Oh, okay.
And uses them to create stuff. You
so
become
that's
catabolic.
What autophagy is.
Yes, autophagy.
Right.
If I'm saying it right, I think it's autophagy, definitely.
I don't know.
Autophagy, is that when you automatically go to Fiji?
That's the way Dave Asprey says it.
Okay. I reckon it's autophagy.
So I just copy
here in
him.
Australia, he's American, right? Dave Asprey. So basically, I suppose, I think very important to clean out your cells because I reckon after those 2 days.
So what does it actually do? I thought it flushed all your dead cells out.
No.
It cannibalizes.
Yes. It catabolizes, not cannibalize, catabolize.
Catabolize.
Yes. So
I thought it cannibalized.
No.
I thought it ate your dead cells or something.
It does. That's what catabolize is.
Right.
So what happens is it eats your dead cells and makes them into new cells.
I was right. Ooh.
And by recycling your old cells, it really resets your immune system. Gets rid of all your...
So what do you mean it eats its own cells?
It gets your cells,
what does that mean?
rips them apart and uses the protein to make new cells.
Rather than doing what?
Well, you don't have anything to... So what happens is at night time, your body repairs itself.
Yeah.
So if it's got nothing in your stomach, it uses your body.
Okay, so it's not using your muscle though, is it?
Okay, so if you're not ketogenic... it will use your muscle. But if you're ketogenic...
So that's why you go ketogenic, so you don't break down your muscle. You're breaking down your fat.
That's right. Because the challenge is if you fast and you're not ketogenic, it's going to break down your muscle.
Yeah,
which we don't want that happening. But we want our old crappy cells to get eaten away.
Yeah, okay.
And now, I don't know, but I found after 2 days of dry fasting, I looked like 5 years younger. I was surprised.
Yeah, you look good. Yeah. Definitely.
So it really made a big difference. It just really, you can tell, like people look at you and go, wow, what did you do? You know?
So it's really anti-aging, obviously.
I think so. It shows in your face, you know what I mean? And so that's pretty cool. And look, all these things take discipline, but if it was easy...
everyone would be doing it.
That's right. At the end of the day, it's the hard things in life that are worthwhile.
Yeah.
That's right. That's the fact of it. So look, we've touched on a lot of subjects today.
I would like to do maybe another episode where we go into depth about our 2-day fast and water fasting.
Okay, I think it's a good idea, the dry fast.
And on ketosis and how the whole thing works.
I think we should do some before and after photos too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I documented my whole journey while I was dry fasting because it's the first time I've ever done it, and it was the scary thing to do.
It's very challenging.
And I wanted to just document how I was feeling and, what was happening with that. So I guess I will get around to doing that video. But I would love to obviously talk in depth with you more about the whole process and why it's good for you.
I think it's a really interesting subject.
Yeah, definitely.
And probably one of the best things for longevity and reversing aging, which is one of the things we're into.
So I guess this is beyond paleo, isn't it?
It is beyond paleo.
We've got beyond...
Oh, look at that.
That's the name for the diet.
I love it. It's great.
So we've got beyond veganism.
Yep.
Beyond paleo.
That's right.
I love it.
You're a genius.
So, yeah, I guess that's what we're going to be talking about in one of our next subjects.
So, awesome. So I think a great session. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, George.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're going to say thank you, Christina?
I'm saying thank you to the audience. And thank you to you. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. And we'll see you next time on The Ugly Truth.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
For everyone listening, thank you once again. Stay well and see you next episode.
For awesome info and trending content, go to georgemarkowski.com.